Hey Planet Zooers, it's Mathletee here again. Today I'm going to go through some of my workshop items that I have available. What I'm putting down right now is my 100% scenery power supply. So you can see there it's got 100%. And at nighttime it's really pretty. Has a kangaroo on top. Thought it was pretty fun. So I went ahead and put it up at the workshop. I was using this in my test zoo so I could put it down and not worry about how it's going to affect guests. I could easily plop it and go. The next item is what I call an A frame for the 2x2 lit signs. It does not come with the media that's inside. You would have to put your own. My favorite thing about these is that I made them with Flexicolor wood, so you can change the color to anything you like to match your theme. They're super simple, but a lot of fun. So next thing we're going to go over really quickly is my Aquatic rock habitat board with speaker. So it's all covered up. Put it down. It's got Pygmy in my game. That was what I used it for in my build. You do have to move the habitat board to get to the speaker. You can see I was trying to select it without moving it and I was unsuccessful. So just pull it forward with advanced move and then put it back. The next item I have is a custom glass doorway. I didn't like how a lot of the in-game doors are so small. You're not able to see through them. So this is 6 meters by 4, so 6 meters wide, 4 meters high. So that way you can hide a little bit of the walls that you have and give it a little texture difference. I use this for my Memphis Zoo inspired entrance, which is also on the workshop, and I'll be doing a video on that in the future. I also have that small brick wall available. And this is my what I call hippo entry ramp. I created this after I'd created a wonderful hippo habitat, and I didn't have the ability to change the water. I had the paths too close and it was not going back in the way I wanted it to. So I had to back up to keep my water settings, and so I built this ramp for them to be able to get in and out of the water. You just have to make sure for hippos that it does touch the ground in the water that they have. And then what I'm pulling up here is my sunshade. It's also great as a path cover. I used it in a couple of builds. It's in the hippo habitat that I have on the workshop. It's up by itself. It's also in my otter and animal top point. And everything is recolorable, so it's a lot of fun. I will be linking all of these in the comment below, pinned to the top for you guys. If you want to go check them out, use them in your zoos. The next thing I'm putting down is the animal talk point that has that same sunshade in it, just to give you what it looks like, how to set it up. Once you get it ground level, you're going to want to use the staff path. At least that's what I like to do to keep guests out of that area. Underneath where you want the animal talk point to go, which is underneath the aquatic rocks, so it kind of looks like they're separated. I like to just put down 2, and then you want to do this path first so that when you do your water parts, you have that as kind of a barrier. It won't change the terrain right there. If you do it after, it may be harder to get the path exactly where you want it. So I was just lifting up to make sure that I had the paths the way I wanted them. And for the terrain, you can just push it down if you like. I started with that method, and then I decided I wanted to use the terrain stamp tool instead. And so for that, I used 4 meters wide and 8 meters high. And I'm just moving it up and down so I can see where the terrain changes. So you just kind of want a little bit of that straight look. It takes a little practice to get it where that yellow is. And then you can also advance move the terrain tool if you didn't know that. It was an eye-opener for me when I figured that out. I was like, oh, this unlocks so much And then I just went out to make a little bit extra so I can use the flatten terrain tool, make myself some nice ponds off to the side. And if you check out my otter habitat video or the item on the workshop, this was how I started building it, was around the top point. And you'll see that there's some rocks down there that kind of give you an idea of how deep you want to go. You can move the rocks around if you want it to be shorter. I had some things in the way with the terrain, so I had to come get a better angle to add my water in. And I like to use crystal clear water. I like to be able to see in there. And the last thing you'll have to put in for this build is the animal talk point. On blueprints it won't save it. I can't select it to add, so you'll have to put that in after you get everything set up. And I was adding a little bit of pathing. This is in my blueprint zoo, so I kind of set it up to maybe use it for something else. I was thinking about maybe putting seals there. This is #TheShack. My son created this when I was teaching him how to play Planet Zoo when he was home over spring break from college. And I said, don't pick that, that's so ugly, you can see through it. And he said, I'm going with it. And it became kind of a joke. So I put it up on the Steam workshop so that he could use it in his zoo when he went back to college. So I thought I would throw it in here. We get a laugh out of it. Let us know if you like it too. It's a comical gift shop. You can always change out the shops. And then what I'm doing here is fixing the front because I didn't like the look of the doorway piece. I like the shop front piece. And then I turned them around backwards to match his backwards piece that he has. So it is by far not the most beautiful build, but it's funny. It has a great story. Hope you enjoy it. The next item comes from my Houston Zoo entrance build. I did put some of those things up separately. This is the animal talk point that I created based off of what they had in the zoo. Its placement in my zoo doesn't make a lot of sense because there's nothing nearby for them to talk about. However, the Houston Zoo, they do bring out animals right there, so I wanted to honor their conservation program and put it in the same spot. I didn't quite get my pathing correct to cover the circle, so I just shifted around and get it to cover the whole thing. And then you can bring in your pathing however you like so that your guests can stand around and watch. I like to put the staff path underneath to keep guests from walking under there since it's more of a staff area than it is a guest area. I didn't put any scenery foliage in it. There are boxes for it. You can decorate it to match whatever habitat that you're going to put this in front of. And I do know that it's missing a leg in the front. It was that way in the Houston Zoo build. They actually have it attached to the wall, and that's actually where they would stand. The next thing is my ticket entry. I did update this after I noticed in my Houston Zoo entrance it was comically large, so I lowered it a little bit. I need to go back and update the Houston Zoo blueprints as well. And so if you do get those, you notice I'm like, oh, this is the wrong one. Let me get the other one. All you need to do is shift the animal faces up a little and then sink it down. If you do download the Houston Zoo, I have a video on my Houston Zoo entrance as well, and I plan to do a series. I'm hoping to have the second episode up very soon. And there's the little ticket entry. Also, that computer came from the workshop. I'll add a link for that as well. This is the ticket booth cover. I wanted to hide away some shops for interaction with it, but in the zoo entrance they had two different buildings for ticket purchases, and so I covered it up to where you cannot see the vendors inside. You can also recolor the opaque glass, which I will do here as I'm putting it down. You do have ambient speakers that are acting as the space to speak through the glass, so you can set that to something if you like as well. And I chose a darker gray for this as I placed it. I do feel that that's kind of more realistic of a glass feel instead of that white that it comes with when you first put it down. And then I was just scrolling through and changing the displays to different things that I've used in different builds. I do have drop boxes available for the Houston Zoo and the Memphis Zoo build if you want any of the things that I put in the billboards. I'm struggling to get the shop in here. I ended up having to use control to slide it into the correct spot. For some reason it did not want to snap into the inside. And you can place whatever you like in there. I did not include the shops that I had placed. And here is the entryway, not the spawners. I forget what they're called in game, but the ticket entry. When I placed this, I didn't notice the hide me tiles were way back there, so I was just going for when it turned red and brought it right back up where it had curbs. And then I see them back there. It's like, oh man, that could have made my life so much easier. Thank you so much for checking out my workshop items that I have in this video. I hope you have a great day, and may the RNG odds be ever in your favor.